watching Medfield TV, community shows.
Welcome to Live Your Passion. I'm your host, Alex Stephen from Life Transforming Treasures. On Live Your Passion, our guests share their stories and challenges and how they embraced and overcame them. Hopefully, you can use some of their wisdoms to help you on your journey. I'm an author, a motivational speaker, and a business growth coach. You can go to my website, alexstephencoaching.com, and get your free download of Discover Your Inner Treasure. This morning, I have with me, my guest is Latonia Francois, and I'll have her introduce herself.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit, introduce yourself, or what do you do?
All right, so my name's Latonia Francois. Thank you for having me on your show today. I am the owner of Let's Write Life. It's a journaling company that I started to partner with organizations and mental health professionals to allow them to easily incorporate journaling into their programs as a positive form of self-expression.
Right. So today you're here to share your story with the audience. So we'll start off, tell us a little bit. I know you said when you were in your early teenage years and middle school, things started to shift for you. So you just want to explain to the audience a little bit what is your experience then?
Yeah, so my then experience, I grew up suffering from depression. And I get asked all the time, when did depression start in my life? And after really thinking about it and even just talking to you about my story, I've always had a hard time pinpointing when the depression actually started. But after looking back on my life from where I am now, I can tell that it started from dealing with rejection from family members, relationships that I was in, and with friends. And then when I look over life after that initial rejection from family and friends and poor relationship choices that I made, a lot of other things happened in my life that contributed to the initial wound that started with that. I mean, I think about tragedies that have happened. My grandmother passed away at a young age when I was at a young age, but I was old enough to know how much I valued her in my life. And when she passed, that affected me. My husband was a victim of crime in Brockton. He was assaulted and I almost lost him. And just dealing with a lot of different circumstances kind of contributed to this tangle of emotions that I never really dealt with, and that just led me into dealing with depression silently in the background of my life.
Yeah. So tell the audience a little bit, growing up, some of the, experiences, if you will, that contributed to this. Some of them probably going through the same experiences and they're looking for help. So, if you could share with them in school, probably in church, at home, as much as you could share with them.
Like what contributed or really impacted my depression? Yeah,
some of the, like in school, what was it? Teachers told you things? Or
for me, it really started at home.
Okay.
So my mom and have always had a loving relationship.
Okay.
But a lot of our relationship, there was a lot of pressure put on me to excel, to be strong, to be a lot of the things that I end up feeling like I was failing at. And so my desire to be accepted and loved from her turned into a lot of feelings of rejection from her.
Okay.
And outside of my mom, just the relationships, me trying to meet expectations I was living in that way because I thought that was the way I had to receive love.
Yeah, okay.
And so when I would be in relationships with boyfriends, I would be changing and trying to be something that I wasn't to accept their love. And then I found that that was the same way I was dealing with my friendships, putting myself out there, being the one who was encouraging, being the one that was there for everybody. And I was never receiving anything in return from any of those relationships. But I didn't know that then.
Okay.
I know that now,
No.
looking back.
Retrospect.
But yeah, but then that's what I feel like contributed to that start of where the depression started to come into my life.
So with your experiences like in middle school, junior high, or whenever it was, that had you like isolated?
Junior high, I feel like is when I really, because it didn't come from, it wasn't like a at-home rejection anymore. It was more rejection at school now I was facing from my friends, and then that's when I started dating, you know, and so it was pretty much no longer just at home or family relationships, because even outside of my mom, it would be cousins or an aunt or an uncle or just certain things that would be said about me that would make me feel like I had to excel in this area or excel in that area, but I would be failing, and failing meaning I didn't look a certain way, or I didn't wear my hair a certain way, or I wasn't strong enough because I was so emotional, I still am. I cry a lot, you know, I love a lot, and that wasn't seen as strong. You can't cry, you have to, you know, hold your own and keep going. And so I would hold in my emotions and not really know how to express them. And so I would feel like I was failing in all the things that I was trying to be when I wasn't.
So it sounded like you were not being yourself.
Yes.
You're trying to be everything to everybody else to get accepted.
Exactly.
And that led to you being disappointed. Yeah.
Feeling like I couldn't live up to what people saw as being accepted or being great or successful even. And so I pretty much felt like because I couldn't relate to anyone or share how I was feeling with anyone without being judged, I isolated myself, which is a symptom of depression. And I closed myself off, and that's pretty much how I lived with depression, pretty much going on through life, not letting anybody know about it because I was ashamed and I felt guilty about being depressed. And even in my culture, depressed is still a stigma. It's still not widely accepted. And so I didn't really reach out to anyone for help when I could have, but I didn't.
Yeah. But now you turn it around. So share with us, you know, some of the steps you took to change your situation.
Well, so life went on, and I carried that depression into my adulthood, not ever dealing with it, just thinking like if I just got into a career, kept myself busy, that I could just be happy and the depression would just go away. And I was chasing goals and had a really great paycheck, stable job and everything, and I was pretty much feeling good about it. And then 2013, I started a family. I ended up getting married. And in 2013, when I had my second daughter, I found myself back at a rock bottom place with depression again because of situations that were going on in my life that triggered it. And those situations were being pregnant, of course, being a big emotional thing, but then also facing financial crisis. My husband was laid off. I was laid off no money. I went from just having, I don't want to say having it all, but having some stability in my life to
Living
having
comfortable.
everything be so unsecure while I was pregnant. And I'm a woman of faith, so I really was like, God, what is going on? And it was almost like I felt like I was being put on my back to face issues from my past that I was been afraid to deal with, to confront. And I remember thinking I didn't want to live anymore because of how bad my situations were at the time. Even my relationship with family members were horrible.
Wow.
And I was really shook by it because there I was facing my own issues, and I was reaching out to people at that time for help, and it was like the same thing, rejection, or just like, who cares about you? Just like there was just no compassion.
Wow.
And I just didn't really see a reason to live anymore. I had suicidal thoughts, and that's where I found myself. But something inside of me, and I'm going to say it was my daughter and just the Holy Spirit, I guess, inside of me, because I had been in that rock bottom place of depression for so long, that baby inside of me gave me some type of hope.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, you know what? I can't live with this depression anymore, because this baby, I need this to not embed itself in her.
Yeah.
And something about that whole, you know, when you're pregnant and everything you eat affects the baby, and your emotions
It's part of you.
Yeah, could affect the baby. Something about that whole process just sprung up something in me to say, I can't let her feel what I'm feeling. I can't. And that gave me hope to say, how can I be happy? I had never said to myself, how can I be happy? I just think it was that certain situation in the pregnancy and me being sick of the depression isolating me in life, feeling like I could never experience the joy that I wanted, and I was really just tired of it. And there I was, I couldn't work, I was sick during the pregnancy, I was just stuck in life, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, what could I do if I just figure out how I can be happy for this baby? If it's the one thing I can find hope in to live, what could I do? And that's what started my journey.
Yeah.
I know that was a long-winded
way
to segment
important.
into that.
Yeah, but it's important. So your faith is the one that you spoke to God, so to speak.
Yeah.
You got that divine intervention, and you got that piece of hope. So yes. What were some of the other things you did?
So I had journaled all my life, and for the most part, journaling had always just been my way of venting and the secret way I would talk to my sister when I was young, because in my household we couldn't be vocal, we couldn't yell out or lash out or anything like that. It was a very strict household. And when we were emotional or when we were hurt by something, we would use journaling to just talk and write and pass the journal between each other. And for my own journal that I didn't pass it to my sister, it was just my way of just voicing my pain. And so I journaled this way my whole life. And at this moment when I had decided I wanted to choose happiness for myself, I wanted to figure out what it would mean for me to be happy. What is it based on what I believe it is? I found myself writing in the journal, and I was looking at all the pages that I had written, and all I could see was pain. All I could see was pain and the years of sadness I was writing into my story, writing into my life. And I said to myself, you know what, I want to write about a recent memory that had happened like 3 days earlier, my older daughter's birthday. And I pulled up my phone because we didn't have any internet at the time. I feel like we barely had lights on. We were really struggling. Yeah. But I had my phone, and I went to the video, and it was my older daughter, and she was singing happy birthday, but she had just spelled her name. And that memory gave me so much joy that I said, I want to write about this in my journal. And that's what changed everything for me. I no longer was writing about pain, but I started to write about the joy I wanted to feel.
Yeah.
And as I began to write more about that, it turned into not only joy, but dreams and goals, relationships I wanted to. I just started writing about everything I wanted, and those words turned into actions and a journey of learning who I was, and here I am today. Really.
Yeah, so it's amazing story what kids could do for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
unbelievable. I know through having both my kids,
Oh
Larry
my
and Charisma,
gosh.
and now having a granddaughter. And,
Oh, congrats.
well, she's 9 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you know, you're talking about journaling and expressing how you feel, and I was sharing at the studio before you came in. She wanted to express because her feelings, and you know, her peers at school asking her, both her parents deaf.
Oh.
So they're asking her how you relate and communicate, and you know, she's very confident about it.
Yeah.
She's bilingual. She signs.
Oh, good.
And she belongs. Parents belong to this group, Kids of Deaf Adults. So she have friends there who have similar situation.
Nice.
And we decided through talking, the way to express that is her talking through YouTube. So she set up a YouTube channel. It's you know, go to it. It's Ravina Stephen, Raveena.
Okay.
Ravina Stephen, and she named it Ravina's Studio.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
it's similar to what you're saying, and you know,
Oh
you were
my
talking about your
gosh.
pain and how you came out of it, and I had a smile on my face because the kids could do so much for you. They change your whole life around.
They really, really
Yeah.
do. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's good, you know. You got your form in journaling. She plays the violin, so she wants to play there and talk to kids about what a violin means to her, the discipline, the learning, and how it helps her. So it's good. It's good, and I show your kids, you know, you know, telling them how you know how to get through. So it's good from your experience.
Yeah.
That you creating a better life for them.
Yeah. So before, even while you were talking, before I started what I'm doing now, on that journey, I asked God, because my husband and I have a graphic design and marketing company that I had been doing for 7 years at that point. And I knew once I had my daughter after the pregnancy that I didn't want to go back to that, especially since a year after that point of being pregnant and then having her a year out after that, or during that time, I had asked God, like, what could I do differently to be able to incorporate my family into my life more than I had been able to do. And I loved the business that we had, but a huge part of it I knew wasn't mine. I went to school for business, I studied it, and I was fine with it, but I knew my heart wasn't in it. And so it's crazy that what I'm doing now, it's actually was birthed out of that time.
Yeah.
And I know now, had I not gone through it, I wouldn't even have this business that I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And I asked for that during that rock bottom time when I didn't even think my life was worth living, to now being able to do something that I wrote about, the dream, like I want a business that changes lives. I want my life to be, you know, something I can contribute to others, but I didn't know what that meant. I just knew I wanted to be happy doing it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's crazy.
And that's you know, that's the name of the show, Live Your Passion.
Right.
And through the pain and, like you said, hitting rock bottom, it was birthed not only a daughter, but a new business.
Yes.
And just helping people. So, you know, you talk to us about your faith in God, you know, how you got hope, how, you know, just thinking about the kids, your daughter that you were pregnant with, that, thinking about her and how it was going to affect her, had a big shift for you.
Yes.
And then your first daughter, you know, with the video, just so much inspiration. So the thing is, you know, we have to be in gratitude, even though when we hit rock bottom, we have to look at the things in our lives that, you know, that money can't buy.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
those are the things that bring us out, and that's what I want people to hear. Whatever you're going through, you know, it might be different challenges, different situations, but you have to ask for help. In Latonia's case, people rejected her. In other cases, people might help you. But asking for help, in my opinion, is a sign of strength.
Yes.
You know, you realize, you know, I can't do it alone. Going to the divine is that's the top, you know, and you got your answers and you got your turnaround.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll add two. I'll add two things.
Yeah.
So one thing is, you don't know where your rock bottom place is going to lead you. And I know, like, a lot of people that I talk to who are going through tough times in their life, it's hard for them to see their way out of it. But I remind them, because of my own story, I was in a dark place. I couldn't see anything around me, except for that light of, like, hope to move on. But the truth is, you can move on. And from my dark rock bottom place, that's what actually changed my life. And so even in that rock bottom place, it's almost like, not okay, embrace it, just, you know, love on it and live it up in that moment. But just know that if you get through it, if you find ways to get through it, it could change your life. But you have to get through it. That was the first thing I was going to say. The second thing I wanted to say was, yes, the reaching out for help. So on that journey, one of the first things that I started to do was take a look at the relationships in my life. And that's what I started to write, the people who I found loved me without me having to change or without me having to ask. And they were people that were always part of my life, but I never really considered. I don't know why. People who were always there, but I guess I was so interested in my parents and my relationships that I didn't really realize the people who were just naturally nice to me were the people who ended up being the ones who were there for me during my transformation time, that I ended up reaching out to and talking to. And in that transformation time of going through the depression and letting go of things that were hurting me, it was almost like God was putting people into my life, new people, at that particular season to be what I was lacking. And I'm laughing because I'm like, these people are still part of my life today. For example, like Alan and Danielle, I had no idea who they were, not at all. But at that particular season of my life, somehow a friend of a friend just connected me with them, and their love just gave me the love and that motivation to believe in myself that I was missing. And even my relationship with my husband was changing because of the hurt that I was holding on to. I wasn't fully able to accept all of his love, but in that period of change, I learned how to accept love, and he was on the journey with me. So it's like our relationship changed. So help was coming, but just not from the places that I was looking for originally. And so the more I realized that change I was looking for from other people, that it wasn't happening, that's when I began to realize the change had to happen with me.
Within you.
And so I started just changing myself, changing my environment that I was in so that I could heal, and just staying connected to people who were making me better and not judging me. And that really helped in my healing. And so I wanted to be sure to share that with anybody watching, that you know, start looking at the people who accept you and love you without you asking or without you having to change, because everybody needs help. Even I needed help. I didn't know where to find it. But it showed up that when I began that journey and made a choice that I wanted to be happy and started living my life to see that it happened. And that's what sometimes people are scared to do. They're scared to step out of their comfort zone, face broken relationships that may have hurt you in the past, or even to ask or tell, close family members or friends for help. But you have to do that in order to heal and begin to move forward. You have to do things that scare you. And I went through a lot of scary stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of scary stuff.
It's so important. Two good points you made. The healing comes from within. You have to look inside. You have to look inside yourself, and you have to make that commitment and say, you know what, I wanna change. I want my life to change.
Yes.
And a powerful thing you're doing, and I tell my coaching clients, is when you make a commitment, write it down. And you do journaling. Once you write it down, once you make the commitment, the universe moves to help you.
Yes.
When you write it down, it happens faster. I'm
yes,
telling you.
absolutely.
I don't know why, but I'm telling you it works.
It really,
So,
my life is built on this one
Right.
fact. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned is, looking at the people in your circle. And some people come for a reason, and some people come for a season.
Yes.
And you had to know when to let go. And it's not with any hate or anything.
Right.
It's just, okay, we had enough. Thanks for coming in my life.
Yes.
And you surround yourself with people who supporting you, who's gonna tell you, not only tell you what you want to hear, but tell you when you're doing something wrong or you should shift, and you respect their opinions. And you talk about Arlene and Daniel Dagba, and I met them the same. It's a year now I met Arlene. And
Oh, wow.
I was through Aaron Wilson.
Yeah.
A friend of mine from Toastmasters referred me to Aaron.
Oh, wow. What a small
And Aaron was on my show, the first show in this studio, in this new location.
Oh, wow.
He was my first guest. We were at the high school before.
Wow.
And then he introduced me
He
to
is
Arlene.
my best friend,
Yeah.
best accountability partner.
Yeah,
Oh my
he's
gosh.
amazing young man. And then Arlene came on the show, and Daniel came on the show, and a lot of other people in his circle.
Oh, awesome.
So it's been great how, when Arlene and I met, we both agreed it was like a divine connection.
Yeah.
The energy we feel, and we talk about it all the time, that our spirits are connected. So there's good people you with.
Yeah. and just like, and I hadn't known anybody like that, and because of them, they allowed me to have a new, fresh energy, I guess.
Yeah.
New, fresh vibe and way to approach life.
New perspective.
Outside of just the regular people I know. And even outside of them, just friends that showed up in my life, new friends. That is still part of my life today, that were just the type of friends I needed. People that would listen to me, people that have dealt with things that I dealt with, so I could relate to them and build trust with them, because trust was a big issue too, because of just the brokenness or feeling like I could tell somebody something and then all of a sudden it turns into jealousy or it turns into hate because I was misunderstood. So it was nice to have those relationships, but all that to say, it really takes your own determination, your own choice, your own desire to change who you are in order to attract that energy from others. Because even when I met them, Alan and Danielle, it was almost like because of what I wanted and what I was putting out, it was what they were giving me. And I arrived to a really great point in my life where I realized in order for my life to change, the person who had to change was me.
To change first.
And that's pretty much what I teach about, and how journaling was a big, huge part of that transformation for me. Even forgiveness. I didn't know a lot of the pain that I was holding on to was due to unforgiveness. I had no idea. But I found out because I was writing about my emotions so much that I would hear certain sermons, or I would hear like different conversations just all around me, and this word forgiveness kept coming up. And I told myself, you know what, let me look into what that is. And so, I started to look into what forgiveness was, unforgiveness, what happens when you feel like you haven't forgiven people or things like that. And that's when I realized, crap, I need to work on this. And it
Yeah.
wasn't about anybody else changing. It was about me, and then me writing, getting a journal, to just pour out this journey of mine and taking the time to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like they don't have the time, they don't have time to journal, but it's not about the journal, it's about your life.
Yeah.
And what you want to do
the
to change
forgiveness is really helps you.
Yeah.
You know, when you forgive someone or some situation really help you, not the other person. They don't even have to know that you release them.
Right.
So, you know, it's good sharing your story, the things that you did to come out of it, making the commitment, and certain people and situations coming in your life. And, you know, so tell us a little bit now. I know you're giving back, you're helping people who've been through similar situations. So tell us a little bit about, you know, your journaling and what you're doing to help people now.
All right. So, being that it's such a digital age, the first major thing when I decided I was going to start a journaling company was nobody writes anymore. And, you know, I approached my business like this. If I could help one person change their life, save their life, then I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The journal is just the tool to help make it happen. And I started designing journals because I was a designer. So I wanted to heal, and I knew I wanted to share my story in some way. And I had never thought about writing a book or being an author or anything like that, but I knew I loved journals and I knew I loved designing. And so I started designing my own line of journals. I launched 7 journals this year, to be all around different niches that I have faced in my life. So the first journal that I created is called Choose Happiness, and it's about that story of my life when I made that decision for myself. And then the next journal after that is the Best of Me journal, which is this one, which
And you could show it.
here we are. Here we are. This is the second edition of the Best of Me, but what I decided to do, I would go and I would teach journaling workshops, different places, and people would feel really motivated about journaling. But what I found was people would go back into their lives and they would let journaling fall by the wayside. And so that's what really started me designing the journals, because I wanted something for people to leave with and feel like they had my story and had some type of motivation to write with. So in all of my journals, there's a piece of my story, and there's some guidance to start writing depending on what each journal is about. So there's one on making happiness a daily choice. The Best of Me is my full journey. The whole story I wrote in there. There's journaling activities, there's writing prompts, there's all different things for
Very
people to
interactive,
learn journaling. Because I feel like everyone's journey to transformation should start by what you write. It's not just about, oh, let me pick up this journal from, you know, whatever store and just start pouring it out. I feel a part of what someone's transformation is, it comes from inspiration from someone else's life who's been there before. And so with all of my journals, that's what I offer through them. And I pretty much host different speaking events, and I teach journaling workshops based on this Best of Me curriculum, for people to learn how to journal and learn how to positively transform their life with their words leading the way.
So you're giving back now from your story and the tools that you use, so that's great. So tell us a little bit about your company, and I know there's a link that you want to give people some free stuff.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So at Let's Write Life, it's LETS Write, WRITE, life.com. You can learn about all that I do. So I work with organizations and mental health professionals who have a client base or students who they're feeling need to be inspired, who they're feeling needs to hear and know their worth so that they can become and do whatever it is they want to achieve in their life. I go into these programs, I train staff on how to teach journaling, and then I also deliver the programs myself to the students or to the staff and to whatever the audience is that I'm catering to. I also do live broadcasts on Facebook every Tuesday, and this is Thursday, but I do them every week on Facebook at Let's Write Life. And then I also work with transition homes. So right now, actually last night, I did a workshop for homeless moms because, of course, part of my journey it was becoming a mom and motherhood. And so I relate a lot to moms. And so right now I'm giving back to organizations like that, going into transition homes for homeless moms and just getting them to start writing about their journey as they're in the shelter and just being able to see that they do have life beyond where they are.
Yeah. So is there anything else you like to leave with the audience or nuggets you like to share with them?
Yes, before I leave my nugget with you all, I do want to say over on Let's Write Life right now, I believe everyone's journey starts with knowing themselves. So there is a free download on the site. It's called 30 Life Questions to Awaken Your Personal Growth. It's a free download, letswritelife.com, you can't miss it. And I started with these 30 questions for people who don't really know how to journal, don't really know where to begin. So I specifically chose 30 questions to begin that process. So my golden nugget to leave with everybody today is you're worth writing for. You always were, you always will be. No matter what's going on in your life, you have to know that your life matters, that your life has a purpose, but it's up to you to make a choice and discover what that purpose is, and it starts by what you write.
Yeah, so if people want to get in touch with you, what's your email or contact information?
All right, my email is info, I-N-F-O, at letswritelife.com. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Let's Write Life on both platforms. And then you can find all of what I do, my full line of journals and the different services that I provide, from speaking events to staff trainings or even journaling workshops at letswritelife.com.
Yeah, great stuff. So, we hear Latonia sharing her story, the challenges she went through. It wasn't easy, it was tough. You talk about hitting rock bottom, but she wanted a way out and she found it, going back, falling back on her faith and, finding the hope, and, people were coming to her life. And, we call it miracles. We didn't expect it, but when you ask for it, you better expect it. It's going to come.
Yes.
And it's a great story. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it. And thanks for gracing us with your presence on the show.
And thank you for having me. It was good. It was great.
So what I like to do on the show is read the quote of the day from my book, Inspirational Life Quotes, a collection for your daily motivation. So today's quote, I'll read today's quote is, "Faith is taking the first step,
Wow.
even when you don't see the whole staircase." Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow.
People always ask me how come the quote is relevant to the guest stories I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but it's always relevant.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Always relevant, and that's why I like doing it. And my book, Courage in Our Hearts, A Family's Love Story, written by 4 of us, my wife, my son Larry, and Charisma Stephen. I like to give this to my guests, autograph copy for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we have 2 other books that we wrote. Discover Your Inner Treasure is an action guide that goes with Courage in Our Hearts. And this is my granddaughter, Ravina, here, the one with the YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And she's here again on IP Goals Made Easy for parents of special needs kids. So thanks a lot for joining us on Live Your Passion. Again, I'm your host, Alex Stephen, and you could go to my website, alexstephencoaching.com, and I have a lot of free stuff there, and you could reach me at info@alexstephen.com. Thanks again, and see you next time.
All right, thank
coming.
you.
Okay.
The preceding was a production of Medfield TV.